Right, I thought I'd just do a quick video about hiking and some beginners tips, stuff that I've learned over the last 2 or 3 years, stuff that can be really helpful and quite simple, which will make getting out there walking and hiking a lot more enjoyable. Some of the things I learned the hard way. It's just in my living room. I'm not out and about at the moment. I'm waiting for someone, a workman, to come to my house, have a look at some patio doors. So I thought it's a good opportunity while I'm having a cup of coffee to do a video. So just some tips and tricks for beginners, because I think everybody appreciates walking now, getting out for a hike. Since we've all been cooped in, locked inside, and the idea of getting out and walking now is fantastic. And some friends of mine have really got into walking. And first of all, as you know, we all did, when you first start walking and perhaps you walk up a couple of hills, you're like, oh, this is a real struggle. Getting a couple of miles under your belt and you're like, oh dear, that's pretty tough. But over time, as with my friends and myself, before you know it, you're doing 5 miles, then you're doing 10 miles, and it just gets easier and easier. You become more, your legs and your fitness become more conditioned. And I highly recommend it. There's so many benefits for walking and getting outside. Exercise, obviously, it's just really good for you. It's really good for your mind, clears the clutter. Obviously, you're in the fresh air, gets the blood moving. So if you can get out there and do a bit of walking, even if it's just in your general area, or perhaps you're going to drive somewhere and go to a nice spot, because we're allowed to do that now in the UK. The restrictions are lifting, easing a bit more, so you can actually go somewhere nice and go for a nice hike somewhere. Highly recommend it. Really do. It's so good for you. There will be good times and bad times, you know, when the bad weather comes in, or I don't know, all kinds of little things. Perhaps you get off the track, you get a bit lost, and you're like, oh no, where am I? So those things are just learning curves, but hiking's amazing. So I've learned a lot of people off YouTube and stuff that I've read online, and it's just made my hiking and walking so much better. So a big thank you to anyone that contributed to just giving out advice. So if anybody tagged along this channel, and as you probably guessed, I'm not that bothered about trying to get a massive channel. It's just to help people back. So some of the stuff I've got, if I review it and I've experienced, like I've used it, and it helps someone who's thinking of getting that item, then that's all I'm doing it for, really, just to sort of jump in on the community of hiking and camping and that sort of thing. So I've got some more reviews to come. We can actually go camping this month, wild camping and that. So I've got some walks planned. I really want to do the Wainwrights coast to coast, but I've got a smaller one that I practice more local in Dartmoor that I want to do, to test out all my gear again properly before I go and do the Wainwrights coast to coast, and hopefully a few others after that. So I'm sidetracking. What am I talking about? Yeah, getting out hiking. So here's just some of my tips and tricks, what I've learned along the way to make your walking experience a lot better. So whether it's just getting out and walking the dog, perhaps going for a couple of miles in the country or in a park or a woods, or if you're going to start really smashing out those miles, whatever suits you, whatever's good for you, here's my tips and tricks on sort of hiking and the general outdoors. So number one tip is your feet. You can have the best clothes, the best rucksack, the best gear, the best navigation system on your smartwatch and all that, but if your feet are suffering, then the whole thing's pointless. It's kind of like having an amazing car with rubbish tires. There's no point, really no point. So make sure you look after your feet. So number one, footwear. Get what works for you, even if it's a pair of trainers. Some hikers just use sort of like Nike trainers or something like that, but make sure that they're comfortable and they're not going to give you blisters. So some people prefer boots. I kind of like mid-range boots, but they're very light. So be careful of these big heavy boots, you know, for the depths of winter. You don't want to be going on long hikes with big heavy boots because it's weight. And bearing in mind your ankles and feet are taking all of that weight. So just go to somewhere like Go Outdoors or Millets or something and have a look at, try on some different shoes, see what works for you. Don't get cheap ones. Some of the cheap ones do advertise like, oh, waterproof, breathable and all that, and it can cost you £30. Like, just don't. They'll fall to bits, they'll lose their shape, and they'll let you down. They really will. I've learned the hard way without buying cheaper shoes. Sorry, my coffee's going cold. So I spend about £100 on the sort of set that I like. Some people like trail runners, whatever suits you. Look into it a little bit. Something that's quick dry, breathable, preferably waterproof. Not all the time, either one or the other. So the trail runners, they're not waterproof, I don't think, a lot of them. I don't really use trail runners, but they're quick dry. So if you do have to go through a stream or it rains or it's wet grass, they will dry very quick. The same goes for socks as well. Get onto socks in a minute. Just get something that's going to either keep your feet dry, like something Gore-Tex, like the ones I use. I can walk in like rain for about 5 hours with those things before the wet seems to get through. They're Solomon X Ultras, but also they dry pretty quick too. But they're light, and make sure they're comfortable, that they don't give you blisters. Now, big tip as well, whatever shoes you buy, you think these are great, good reviews, try them on, brilliant. Don't just start going out there and doing loads and loads of miles. Wear them in first. So just wear them around about town or even around the house, as long as you don't damage your carpets. Like just wear your shoes in. And the same go for insoles as well. If you're going to buy these sort of gelled insoles that make it more comfortable, don't just buy them and then go off and do a 10-mile plus hike, because you'll just rip your feet to shreds. So wear them in first. Let the boots or the shoes sort of mold to the shape of your foot for a bit before you go out on those big hikes. So yeah, footwear is really, really important, and try and get something semi-decent. You don't have to spend ridiculous amount of money, but on the other end of the scale, don't get cheap stuff either, because it will let you down. Like the car, put rubbish tires on a like Formula One car. It's a pointless thing, isn't it? So same go for socks. Try and get something that are quick drying and breathable as well, like anti-wicking socks if preferable. You can get socks that are like anti-blister and all that sort of thing. I've just ordered a pair of Darn Tough socks. I've read really, really good things about them. They're £25, but they look amazing. So I've ordered them. I have got some hiking socks, but don't wear cotton. No cotton socks, whatever you do, because your feet get sweaty. It's a bit manky, obviously. And if they get wet with rain or like wet grass or something, they're just going to stay wet, and that will lead to blisters and just a nasty yuck smell and everything. So try and get some sort of quick drying socks with material that's not cotton, so like nylon or merino wool or a blend of those things. And again, don't skimp out. The ones that I've had recently, they're sort of about in the £10 mark, and they've been fine. They've been really, really good. But I just really like the look of the Darn Tough socks for the ones that I've got lined up this year. So I've ordered a pair of them. We'll see how that goes. Now, if you go out on quite a long walk, or if you're going to camp or stay over somewhere, take 2 pairs as well. Don't just take one, take 2 pairs of socks. It's vital. So you've always got a dry pair on you and a spare pair. You never know what's going to happen, all right? So always take 2 pairs of socks. It's not much weight to carry, is it? So try and get 2. So I'll wear my Darn Toughs for like the Wainwrights coast to coast. I've seen reviews where people have worn them for 3 weeks before they start to smell. So I'm not going to put it to that kind of test. They're quick drying as well, so you can wash them in a river and sort of have a lunch break somewhere and let them dry in the sun, hanging off a branch or something. But I'll keep my older pair as a backup pair of socks as well. And also for sleeping in, if you're going to be camping, it's good to have a nice, fresh, clean pair of socks as well. And also, if your feet start getting cold, if you've got the quick dry socks like the Darn Toughs or something like that, you can wear them again, even though you've been wearing them all day, they should be okay. And you can put the extra layer of socks on top as well if your feet start getting cold. That's my method. Some people take these sort of like down booty type things and all that, but that's my method of keeping my feet warm. So always have a spare pair of socks. Another thing as well in your rucksack as well, spare pair of like shoelaces as well. If your shoelaces snap or break or fray or something, just a spare pair of shoelaces as well. Because if you're quite far away from your car or your next stop and your shoelaces go, I know you can kind of repair them on the way, like tie knots in, like tie them together and all that, but I always keep a spare pair of shoelaces too. Perhaps that's me being a bit overcautious, but it's just another thing. So your feet are number one, absolutely number one. Now I said about cotton before with socks. This is the next thing I'd recommend. Don't wear cotton, all right? Obviously with hiking you're gonna sweat, and cotton just doesn't dry, and it just starts getting smelly and manky, and it takes ages to dry. Also, if it rains, it just won't dry for a long, long time. And it's just a horrible experience. Again, I've learned this the hard way. So get something that's quick drying, and it doesn't have to cost a fortune. I like shirts, these Craighopper shirts actually, they're fantastic. They're so good, they're quick drying, microbo, I can't say it. Sort of, it takes a while for them to start smelling. But yeah, don't wear cotton. Another thing, similar to the socks and shoes when it comes to blisters, wear them in first. So you've got your shoes, your socks, you're like, yeah, these are good, I've got my clothes, this is all good, like quick drying stuff or insulated stuff, whatever. The next thing, which I learned the hard way, is your underwear. Like, wear those in as well. Try and find what works with you for you. I think the biggest hike I ever did in one day, I managed to do 30 miles on the southwest coast path. And it was a hot day and I did it. It was fantastic. I was sweating a lot, obviously, and I wore the wrong type of shorts under my hiking shorts. And oh, when I stopped later on, the chafing was unbelievable. So I couldn't walk the next day. So again, check what works for you. I wear an old pair of cycling shorts that are quite sort of tight and hugging, but it keeps everything in place. And I did the 2 miles way with those and lots of other hikes and they're absolutely fine. So again, find what works with you for chafing. Things like a bit of Vaseline too in between certain areas can help, same as your feet as well. Yeah, take plasters as well. So with the blisters and that with your feet, going back to the feet section, take some plasters. Oh yeah, back to feet, I forgot, I've sort of jumped ahead, there's still some more with your feet. So you've got your good shoes, your socks, wear them all in, make sure they're all good, take some plasters. Another thing is make sure you trim your toenails before you go on a long hike as well. Again, I learned this the hard way. One of my middle toes had a slightly sharp nail on the side and it just sliced into my toe next to it all day long. So trim your toenails before you go, file them as well so there's no little sharp little nicks sort of to it, and they'll start ripping into your socks as well. So keep your toenails in shape too, and you don't want long toenails that are going to be bashing into your shoe as well. So it's a bit gross, but keep your toenails in check. And if you're going on a multi-hike for long days, take something with you where you can trim your toenails, a little pair of scissors and a file, that sort of thing. Ticks, take a pair of tweezers or something that can remove ticks as well. You just basically sort of get the tip, gently squeeze it, twist it and pull it out. So be on the watch for ticks as well when you're out and about hiking. You're sitting there having some lunch and then later on you look on somewhere and you're like, what's that black thing? And it's a tick. So ticks are very important. So in the summer, another couple of things I've been caught out with. Say you're going to be camping in the summer and you think, well, it's really hot, so I don't need a great deal of stuff to keep me warm. You take light stuff and a light sleeping bag, and you don't bother with loads of extra warm layers and all that. And then in the evening or at night, sometimes the temperature can drop, especially if there's a wind coming in. And I've been caught out with that. I was really cold one night when it was in the depths of summer. So I take a down jacket with me, a really light one. I'm going to do a review on that. So if it does get really cold, down jacket, plus you got your sleeping bag as well. But sort of, if I'm going to camp or hike in the summer, I always take stuff that's just a little bit warmer than I think it's going to be, because you never know. We had this in Wales last year, really hot going up the Cape Idris, but I took a big waterproof just in case, and it started getting pretty wet and drizzly, and it got cold up there as well. So yeah, just take that, because take a bit extra to keep warm. You have to take massive winter layers and everything, but just perhaps a little bit extra than you anticipate you're going to need, because you get cold and wet, could lead to all kinds of problems, and especially at night the temperature can drop even in the summer. So that's another thing as well. So keep your head warm, take a hat, woolly hat, or even something with a hood. Your hands too, take a thin pair of gloves or just something, and socks, extra pair of socks, and keep warm. So there's lots of other tips and tricks for camping and that as well. Have I got any more? Oh yeah, layers. Thinking about layers actually. So if you start off in the morning, perhaps you're camping or you're setting off somewhere and it's cold, first thing in the morning, it's a bit of a chill. Don't start warm. This is another good tip as well, especially if you've got a rucksack. So don't have your base layer, a fleece, and then perhaps a down jacket or whatever jacket you're wearing. Don't put it all on because it's a bit chilly. Then put your rucksack on and set off, because after 10 minutes, once you've got your blood moving and your temperature's going up and your body heat's going up, you'll be hot and you have to take it off, disrobe, pack it all away again. So start off cold. So I just start with the minimum, even if it's really chilly, and within 10 minutes, it keeps you sort of heat regulated in your temperature and everything like that as well. So there's just some tips and tricks for now. There's plenty more for wild camping, which I hope to be doing a lot more of this year. I was gutted in the winter. Oh, really, me and some friends do wild camping every winter and we just couldn't do it this year. But I wanted to do so much, even in the winter, and couldn't do it. So anyway, some tips and tricks. So if you're new to hiking, just get out there and walk, and I hope those little tips help.